Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to Mets Daily. I'm your host, Jake Brown. Make sure you smash that thumbs up on this video, hit that subscribe button, and scan that code. Become Mets Daily Insider member. Just $5 a month. We do giveaways during the season. We give away Mets tickets. So if you want free Mets tickets, you got to be a member of Mets Daily. Obviously, yesterday, a lot of people came after me. Again, I was half asleep on the bus. I tweeted out, I expect some Mets news today, ... And everyone thought I was Jeff Passan. I'm not a reporter. I'm a fan that creates content. I wasn't out there starving for attention. I had a gut feeling, a trade, a signing, something was going to happen. It was a new week. Guys were going left and right. If you choose to attack me, that's your right. I just think you're a clown. So you can think I'm a clown too, but anyone who knows me knows I don't just put stuff out there. And if I know a player, I'm going to say it. I'm 1-for-1 on that. I knew the Juan Soto thing. I tweeted that last year. Everyone called me an idiot. I was right. I had a text. I don't have anything this time. If I have something, I'll say a name. That was a gut feeling. Anyways, that ends my TED Talk. Luis Robert is a name the Mets have been expressed to have interest in multiple times over the last year or two. And, we've talked about this with Draftneck Mark, our buddy on here. We'll have Wardy on later this week, potentially talk about it if it hadn't already happened. To me, I understand the intrigue, right? Like, he's under contract for just a year, $20 million, a lot of money, which, by the way, the Braves just paid Ha-Seong Kim $20 million for 1 year. Imagine the Mets did that deal. People would be losing their minds almost as much as they did last week. But Luis Robert, $2 million buyout if you don't give him that option for 2027, which is the same thing, $20 million. Obviously, this is a guy that in 2023 lit up the baseball world. 38 homers, 80 RBIs. His only all-star appearance. He won a Gold Glove his rookie year in 2020. Now, it was a 60-game season, but he won a Gold Glove that year. He's battled injuries kind of throughout his career, 110 games this year, 100 last year, 98 in 2022, 68 in 2021. So, pretty injury-prone, but you can see the upside here, right? Like, if he does play a full season, this guy could be a 30-homer guy if he could replicate that. A change of scenery, going from the worst team in baseball to a playoff contender, the Mets, maybe that rejuvenates him coming to New York from, meaningless games with the White Sox. Another thing that intrigues the Mets, I'm sure, stolen bases. This is a guy that went from 11 to 20 to 23 to 33 stolen bases in just 110 games in 2025. So he's clearly taking advantage of the new rules. He's stealing bases. He's won a Gold Glove. So you're getting great defense. He still is in the prime of his career. I mean, Luis Robert is just 28 years old. So there is some upside of, hey, has this guy going to hit his prime? Can he do it somewhere else like he did in 2023? So I get the upside. To me, I just think it's a bit of a risk if that's your big move. Because if he flops and he has a season similar to these last two seasons, then you're thinking to yourself, what the hell did we just do? But obviously there is some upside, maybe right coaching, maybe a change of scenery, gets it done for Luis Robert. But to me, I'm not that interested. Now, if you're telling me it's like a Vientos, which we'll talk about in a second, for Robert straight up, or Vientos and Wenninger, yes. But if you're telling me it's Jonah Tong for Luis Robert, I'm going to call you crazy. So it really depends, but I'd also rather get better than that. To be honest, I'd probably rather have Ramon Laureano in that trade for a year than pay Luis Robert $20 million to be the center fielder. I'd rather have Laureano in left and Carson Bench at center than have, Luis Robert and Carson Bench. But we'll see. Let me know in the comments below. Do you have interest in Luis Robert? Mark Vientos is a name maybe they can move for Luis Robert. Mark Vientos, like we mentioned on yesterday's show, has switched agents to Scott Boras. Now, it's interesting. Now, I get the move. You go to Boras, you make a lot of money. Look at Ha-Seong Kim. He just got $20 million. He had a terrible season last year and just cashed out a $20 million deal. So I understand it. Vientos is just entering arbitration in 2027. So he's not going to be a free agent until 2029. So he's got a while till he's going to get that big contract unless he, gets a maybe lesser deal and he doesn't want to wait out arbitration, forgoes arbitration years. That's always a possibility. Obviously, he's going to have Boras fight for him in arbitration for more money. But, it's going to be a bit till Mark Vientos cashes out the contract he hopes for. And I think this signals, a change for the Mets. And, I think the Mets he didn't switch to Boras, had to move on from Mark Vientos. Once you sign Jorge Polanco, who I think should be their, most of the time their DH, depending if they don't get another first baseman, then maybe, he plays a lot of first. But that's Vientos' spot. And David Stearns looked at him as a hitter. Like, he basically said in the GM meetings, like, yeah, he's, a DH. He didn't go out and say it, but it's pretty clear that they have no interest in putting him in the field. Rumors were, he'll move over to first and be their first baseman. Mark Vientos would be a national disaster at first base. If we complain about Pete Alonso, my goodness, would we complain about Mark Vientos, who couldn't play third well either, and when he did play first in brief time, looked just completely lost. So I think Mark Vientos would have interest from teams just because he's so cheap. And why would you not want a DH with the potential to be a 25, 30 homer guy? I just don't think he does enough for the Mets to keep him around. He is just a DH. He is very slow. You could barely put him in there for defense. He will not steal a single base. He had one stolen base in 2025. He's almost slower than Pete Alonso. So to me, he doesn't walk enough. This is a guy with a 289 OBP. Even his great year in 2024, he had just a 322 on base. So doesn't walk, strikes out a good amount, but he does have some pop. And I have to imagine a team that has nothing at DH has interest in Mark Vientos. He's got a girlfriend now, so I think the swaggy V life of, rizzing and getting all the girls he wanted in New York City, that's over. Maybe he still does, but I would hope he doesn't cheat on his girlfriend. So that's changed for him, lifestyle change. So I think a change of scenery would be good for him. I don't think he adds anything to the Mets clubhouse. I think he's a cool guy. Obviously Vientos and Lindor going to fashion shows, both big into fashion. But to me, I think it was fun with Swaggy V, but I just see no spot for him. I have no interest in keeping him around as DH. I'd rather use him as a trade piece. So I'm in you have to trade Jeff McNeil, and you should trade Mark Vientos. I'm not in the get him out of town, because obviously as a bat, he provides you something. But to me, I think a change of scenery would do well for him. I think you put him in a less pressure spot, like a Kansas City, a Cincinnati. In that Cincinnati ballpark, I think Vientos could get back to being that hitter. And if he does, good for him. I'm not going to be one of the people of, look, we got rid of him and now he's good. I don't think you root against guys unless they're like bad people. I don't think Mark Vientos is a bad person. I just don't think he adds anything to this Mets team or clubhouse. So I would move on from him. Citi Field will have some additions next door to the clubhouse, and it'll be a casino in 2030 as the Hard Rock Steve Cohen and the Hard Rock officially get their casino license. Construction will begin in January, so buckle up. I was around that area with a friend the other day. Cool to see the construction of the soccer stadium go around. It's cool to see those apartment buildings are basically up. So I'm going to try to live in one of those. I'm going to apply to try to live in one of those. But you have the apartment buildings there. The Metropolitan Park's coming, and the casino is officially coming in 2030. So, listen, there's going to be a lot of traffic. Definitely take the train to the game. The good thing is this casino is going to add a lot of parking spots. We're still a ways away, but I do think it's going to be a pretty packed area because areas are going to be closed off, I'm sure. It's not going to be pretty getting in and out of that stadium, more so probably getting out of the stadium. But it's exciting. I think it's exciting for the area finally being built up. We've been waiting our whole lives to have something to do in that area around Citi Field, around Shea Stadium, and it's finally here. So I do think that's a positive. Obviously, there's going to be the negatives to it. You're going to have people coming over the casino, a lot of tourists, the traffic. There are definitely negatives, but I think for the area, a lot of money coming in, and maybe that money adds to Steve Cohen's money in order to spend more on the team and do different things in the stadium. So I think all good things to finally see an area that was pretty much a bunch of chop shops and hubcaps and tires. Those finally getting rid of those and finally giving us something to do around the ballpark. All right, let's get to your questions from yesterday's show here. Make sure you smash that thumbs up, subscribe. Jake Brown Live. Go subscribe to my YouTube. Let me know that you did. Hit me up in the comments. I meet some people out and about. I tell them about the show. Let me know in the comments if we've met each other, and I'll shout you out. And appreciate the support. From Mets Daily Insider member Sakamoto, playoff Polanco is so fun to watch. Mariners fans loved his bat all year. You are right. It's interesting. I met Sakamoto, I believe Japanese, an Asian guy at the skewer place in Long Island City I went to for dinner last night. And he was talking about how he's a Mariners fan and how clutch he was in the playoffs and how clutch he was. He got his jersey, and now he's not in the team anymore. So I think he was shocked. He said that he got $20 million. I don't think the Mariners had interest for that much. A lot of people calling it an overpay. But he did seem to be a fan favorite, and his clutch bat in late innings in the playoffs was clearly beloved there. So Good point. SS Bouncer says, I would love to see Mason Miller in blue and orange. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, guys. Listen, Mason Miller, to me, if you can get him, that is a no-brainer. This is a guy that's going to be your closer for the next 4 years, and you'll forget about Edwin Diaz. Mason Miller would be electric. Like I said, how much is it going to take to get him? It took like the top prospect in the sport to get him as a rental. So I got to imagine the Padres are asking for the world, and the Mets are saying, we're not giving you Benj, we're not giving you McLean, but anyone else is up for grabs. So we'll see. Do they have enough interest in Jet Williams, Jonathan, Brandon Sproat? We'll find out soon enough. From Mar GS, I'm so excited. The Christian Posh signings will take us over the top. So glad we have David Stern running the team. We trust this move. Again, guys, these are depth moves. You got every team adds them. I think for the Mets, it's more of a storyline, and that's that. My guess is Munetaka Murakami will sign with the Mets this week. Maybe. Murakami or Okamoto is still out there. We haven't heard many rumblings about them. So we'll see if one of them go at some point here. And, they have a window. So they have to go here within the next, I forget the amount of days, 20 to 30 days. They're going to be signed, or they have to go back to Japan. So we're waiting for those guys. From Tuck Loomis, they should just put Vientos as DH. He's younger and bigger upside than Polanco. He's a lot cheaper. I disagree. I think Jorge Polanco is far better than Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos is slow as molasses. He hurts you on the bases. He can't play the field. I'll pass. You already have Polanco. Vientos doesn't add it. Also, great clubhouse guy, Polanco. I don't think Vientos is anything really in the clubhouse. Excuse me. From JR for real, Polanco is not a good sign. Sean Fitzgerald is going to play DH some first base. Michael Bryan says, let's put Polanco at third. Master of Coin says, I think Tong is only traded for Scuba. At least I think so. He thinks Tong is a rotation piece. I disagree. I think Tong is for the right piece. Like, if it's that Padres package, Tong is gone. But it's very limited of players that you get that you trade Tong. Like, I think Peralta, they probably would trade Tong as well. Stewart says I would go the whole 9 yards in a block bar of the Padres. I'd be okay with sending him Tonk, Sproat, Jet Williams, Senga, Vientos for Mason Miller, Pivetta, Laureano, Morejon. It's starting to make that deal. Plus signs a guy like Mike King. Call the offseason success. Yes, if Miller's in that deal, that's probably what it's going to take, Stewart. Yeah, Tonk, Sproat, Jet, Senga, Vientos. I don't know if they want Senga, to be honest, but if they do, yeah, sure, put him in that deal. And Michael King, it's looking like the Yankees have interest. Red Sox, Orioles, and Yankees, 3 teams with interest. So I don't know if the Mets are in on King. I really thought he would be a lock, considering he would have probably been a shorter-term deal. But as of now, I haven't heard any more about the Mets or King. But again, you just never know, guys. Like, Jorge Polanco came out of nowhere, so you never know what the Mets are up to. Because it feels like every move they make, you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Well, the team give a prospect Pivetta if he will opt out after one season. I think it's a package. It's not just Pivetta. And also, people were arguing with me when I said he's an ace. The reality is last year he was an ace. I'm not saying he's an ace for his career. He's probably number 3 for his career. But when you look at this Mets current rotation, and rule out McLean for now, because obviously McLean's great, but he just got here, and you look at the rest of the rotation, amongst those guys, the way Pivetta pitched last year, he would probably be atop the list of the Mets starters. How do these moves even come replacing what we'd let go, says Elliott? Listen, they have a lot of moves left. You have to take, again, the emotions out of it. You're putting together a new clubhouse. It's not about, we're losing Pete's 40 homers. Obviously, they're talented players. But Polanco basically replaced Nimmo. So now you're trying to replace Alonso with multiple players. You're trying to replace Diaz with a Miller or, a McGill from Milwaukee. You still have moves to make. It's not over yet. Robert Niemeyer says, please try to avoid trading Jonah Tang. He should be untouchable unless you trade for Tariq Skubal. I don't think he's untouchable, to be honest. I think now the Mets want to capitalize on Tong. I don't think he's untouchable, so we'll see. E.E. Moreau says, Mets got to keep their farm. Unfortunately, you can't keep everyone. Shakamoto also says, rumor is that Polanco loves to party. Is he going to love New York or what? Well, if he loves to party, he's going to love New York. And Tuck Loomis, Mets Daily Insider member, says, I will mention this as you did Polanco at 213 in 2024. Yes. He did not have a good year in 2024. But listen, it happens. If we want to play what did he hit average game? Okay. 295, 258, 269, 235, 255, 213, 265. Yes, he did not have a good year in 2024. Bounce back in 2025. That's baseball, Susan. All right, folks, my throat is shot right now. Thank you so much for watching. Keep commenting, keep subscribing, keep smashing that thumbs up, and follow me at Jake Brown Live. We'll talk to you tomorrow.